Everyone, welcome back to Soundwell Guitar. We're going to be doing another installment on my series of rare metal albums that I had growing up in the 80s. Today's band that I'm going to be talking about is Abnormal Growth. Now, Abnormal Growth was a completely DIY band. Their music was not in record stores or anything like that. The story how I happened to have a copy of this is kind of interesting. Now, if you've watched my previous video, it's not necessary to understand what's going on here, but I'll just give you a little bit of background. I had this a collection of very rare metal albums. And so I've been unpacking those in videos recently and just talking about some different highlights and things like what's going on with the guitar work. I did wind up having to part ways with this record collection when I was 15 years old. That is going to be a story for a later video. But it was very shortly after I had parted ways with this beloved collection. I had no music. I was actually quite depressed. It was only just a few days really into this journey of having no music that I met what would turn out to be my best friend from childhood, and still somebody that is one of my best friends. We met up at school. And we just met in this first day. I'm showing him the way to the gymnasium. And we start talking about music. I could tell by his style that he was into like punk rock and heavy metal. So we hit it off right away, talking about music. Well, I'm talking about my music collection that I don't own anymore. I don't know where it is. And I was almost embarrassed to admit that I didn't have it anymore. And then he's talking about all these cool bands I hadn't heard of. Well, then he said, I'm going to bring my tape collection, it was the 80s. I'm going to bring my tape collection to school tomorrow, and you bring yours, and we'll compare. Okay. Well, then the next day I showed up, and I had nothing. And he had this like little caddy with maybe about 12, 15 cassettes in it. Well, I confessed, I'm like, my collection was much, much bigger, but now it's actually just nothing. I don't have any music anymore. Told him the story about what happened, why I don't have it anymore, and out of sympathy, he grabs a cassette out of the thing and said, you need music, man. Here, take this home. And it was this band called Abnormal Growth. Now, Abnormal Growth was a completely DIY band that formed in 1986 by two guys, teenagers. One was Clay Butler. He did vocals and drums, and then another guy named John Crowhurst, and he did the guitar and bass. Now, when I say DIY, I mean do it yourself. This album was not in record stores. They recorded it themselves on a Tascam Porta 1. Now, in 1986, that's kind of crazy to me because that was really new technology, the home multi-track recording device. Those things cost a fortune when they first came out. Now, I can only imagine that it must have cost thousands. But these guys are obviously dedicated. They're not on a record label, so they're recording their songs themselves. Okay, so the guitarist was obviously a very talented musician. You could tell he knew how to play guitar. He was not a hack because this band played a variety of styles. When I said metal album, you can tell these guys were kind of in the punk rock metal variety, kind of like Dead Milkmen in a way, but some songs are a little heavier. But then they do songs that are like blues or more like a country type song. We'll be unpacking those, but we'll also be getting really into the lyrics. But anyway, more on the guitarist. He does all of these different genres very well. Okay, the lead singer apparently had absolutely no musical background at all. He didn't really need to, and that's kind of what made this funny. He wrote some really funny lyrics. He was very talented because some of the stuff he improvised, and it was just gold. But it turns out he was also a very talented artist. Some of his artwork is a little bit disturbing, but nonetheless very talented. I don't know if maybe he later went on to be a tattoo artist. That's kind of what I'm getting from the artwork of his, or maybe comic book artist. Anyway, so all their songs, I remember getting this cassette home and listening to it right away, being drawn in because it sounded a lot like the stuff I was doing with my buddy, where we would just have a tape recorder in the room and I would play guitar and I would sing into it and I would just make up some really, really wacky stuff. And so it resonated with me right away. Now, the first song I think that grabbed me, I'm not going to play any of this song. It's called the ABC song, and they basically recite the alphabet, turning every single letter into a swear word. And I try to avoid putting swear words on my channel, but they have a website. You can check it out. Just Google Abnormal Growth Music, and you can get their whole bio. You can listen to their music, MP3s. They've got a bunch of albums that they did after this one that I had, but this one that I had was one of their earlier ones. And you can hear the ABC song on there. But I'm not going to play it here on my channel because it's just vulgarity after vulgarity. Now, of course, when you're 15 years old, this is like the best thing ever that somebody had the gumption to throw together a song with this many curse words in it. Okay, so anyway, enough of that one. I will move on to some ones where I want to highlight the vocals and play some of the riffs. The first one I'm going to bring out here is a song called Satan Lives in Steve's Living Room. And it's got this riff that just goes pretty menacing sounding riff. But that it opens up with, one Monday morning the devil came. Steve Schultz, they say, was never the same. He shaved his head, he pierced his nose, he beat himself with a rubber hose. Satan lives in Steve's living room. Let's listen to this. All right, here we go.
One Monday morning the devil came. Steve Schultz, they say, was never the same. He shaved his head, he pierced his nose, he beat himself with a rubber hose. Satan lives in Steve's living room. Satan lives in Steve's living room.
So you get the idea. I'm sure you can hear the DIY audio production on that. But very funny. Then there's another verse that says, 666 he wrote on the door, then he burnt a pentagram on the floor. The devil said, "You're too weird. Get a job and grow a beard." All right, next tune we've got is called The Yuppy Blues. You heard it correctly. We're talking about a blues song that's sung in the first person of a very well-moneyed, stuck-up yuppie. Sure, they knew a few of them because I do believe they were from California. Anyway, so when he's singing it, he uses a sort of character voice where, he sounds like he's just really full of himself. Okay, and you've got your cliche, and then it's like a... You get it? Like, real predictable blues. But then, again, with these lyrics, I've got them right here. I'm not going to read all of them, just some highlights. He says, I get home from school, and I park my Mercedes, lift up the doormat, get our house key. I go to the fridge and grab me a Coke. No one went shopping. This family's a J-O-K joke. Got the blues. All right, let's check a little bit of this out.
I get home from school and park my Mercedes. I lift up the doormat and get our house keys. I go to the fridge and grab me a Coke. No one went shopping. This family's a J-O-K joke. Got the blues. My parents left town to go to...
Our chorus on that, too, is like something like, my mommy's a doctor, my daddy's a lawyer, but we're still in debt. And he's like, but that's okay, I still got my VCR. Okay, our next song is called Hyperactive. Another song written in the first person, but this is from the first person perspective of a grade school kid that has like severe ADD, just hyperactive behavior and is all hopped up on sugar and just acts crazy. Now, when the tune opens up, Let's see here.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I remember hearing that sound that he did. It was like some kind of Eddie Van Halen thing, and I was pretty new at guitar at the time when I was listening to this. And I remember later on figuring out how he did that sound. It was really cool because he's got this. See it? He took the side of his finger and created that sound. I always thought that was really cool. It was like one of the first times I think I'd ever heard somebody do that. Anyway, so let's check out some of these lyrics here. Wrong one. Up at 5:30, it's always the same. Run around the house, I can't be tamed. Bowl of Captain Crunch, I count every one. Spill my orange juice, my day has begun. Get on the school bus, I can't shut up. I eat my boogers, make my friends throw up. Here we go. Okay, that riff's pretty cool. Actually, I should play that. It's like something like that. Anyway, I think that's a cool riff. All right.
But 5:30, it's always the same. I run around the house, I cannot be time. Bowl of Captain Crunch, I'm not alive. Spill my orange juice, my day has begun. Get on the school bus, cannot shut up. I eat my boogers, and my friends throw up. Out of my classroom, cannot sit still. Going to listen, I forgot my bill.
Okay, now this chorus is awesome. Okay, enough of that one. Okay, next up, we've got a song. It's called 70s Song. It's referring to the 1970s. Apparently, this one began with the guitarist doing this riff on the guitar. It just came to him on the spot or something where he went like... And he was like, oh, God, that just sounds like some really lame 70s song. They start recording it, and the recording that's on this album, the lead singer improvised all of the lyrics. Now, this is where I think a lot of true talent was shown with this band, that he was actually able to come up with so many 70s references just on the fly. I mean, how many does he do? You know, when he opens up just saying, little flowers, big trees, little flowers, big trees, little birdies and the fish in the sea. I like disco music and sleazy bars. I've been on the dating game 16 times. I've been on the Gong Show twice and the Newlywed Game. Okay, so it's 70s references, like the Gong Show. Look it up, dumb game show from the 70s. I've got bell-bottom jeans and a white leather belt. I've got lapels to my shoulder and sideburns to my chin. Take me back to the 70s. So just like, how many references could he do? They just start rattling them off, going up and down like this, and it's like Richard Nixon, Vietnam, my favorite, no more Beatles, astrology. Anyway, let's take a little sample of it.
Trees, little birdies, and the fish in the sea. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. I like disco music and sleazy bars. I've been on the dating game 16 times. I've been on the Gong Show twice and the Newlywed Game. I got bell-bottom jeans and a white leather belt. I got lapels to my shoulders my chin.
Next up, we have the song Ozark Mountain Man. Once again, lyrics written from the perspective, the first-person perspective, and this time it is an Ozark Mountain Man. I guess they're poking fun at like some really ignorant, uneducated redneck type person. I mean, right off the bat, it opens up with the lyric, married my cousin, all my kids are mutants, can't spell my own name, I just write an X. It's got this little acoustic riff. And then it's like this. When he says that, so it's like I drive an old pickup truck, 15 kids. Yeah. Ozark Mountain Man. Anyway, let's check it out.
Married my cousin. All my kids are mutants. Can't spell my own name. I just write an X.
And then we got this.
God is still in my backyard. Drink lots of booze. Beat my wife on weekends. Yeah, this is so cool. Hey, there's no police out here.
No police.
I can do what I want.
Do what I want. But
Coon hunting.
coon hunting?
Bootlegging.
Bootlegging. Okay. Well, anyway, those are some of the tunes off of that cassette that I remember the most. It had us all cracking up, but somehow found it musically rewarding to some degree to listen to, just because, I don't know, it was just fun music. I hope you found this video entertaining. Be sure and check the band out, Abnormal Growth. They've got their own website. Apparently they went on to add other members to the band, and they did, I guess, get some notoriety when they did play with they played with Guar, and I think they played with Bad Religion. There was a couple of bands that I saw that they played with, so they did get to play with some bigger acts, which is really cool. I plan on checking out some of the stuff that they did after this album, but this was really, really early on. Anyway, catch you on the next video.
W Weirdo X Triple X Y Yuck Z Z. Now I don't know anything.